Feelings of exhaustion and numbness are not malfunctions of the brain. These feelings are simply emotional responses. Responses to a solution. Reactions to a mechanism. A mechanism designed to keep you from a life of constant exhaustion. Sadly, this defense mechanism isn't perfect. There will always be trade-offs, no matter what. In order for free will to resurface, one must go on the offensive against themselves. We've stopped questioning, nor are we analyzing our brain's decisions anymore. We've befallen to believing our feelings are malfunctions. We forget our feelings are in response to adaptation. Adaptation to wounds that, if left untreated, disrupt life completely. But to even visualize the concept of mental wounds, we must accept that we've been damaged in the first place. We need to comprehend how experiences are digested, how some can become wounds. I need you to start questioning the origins of what defines reality in your head. I need you to understand that your experiences create you. They provide causality to your feelings. A simple concept, yet one we discard in moments of weakness. Letting your past experiences build you reactively is simply autopiloting out of exhaustion. Your brain is being overwhelmed. Its mechanism is failing. Our current issue is we don't apply causality to our minds. We seem to just believe experiences and thoughts arrive by themselves. They exist and we deal with them. Religion, beliefs, and doctrines are simply methods to give reason to experiences. This was meant to happen. I was chosen to do this. God saved me. We cling to these ideas of higher powers in a scramble to find reason for our lack of control. I need you to understand the disconnect I'm talking about. A concept originally coined monism. That is, we live life in two worlds, whether we want to or not. A material world, where laws of nature, such as physics and matter, are applied, but also a mental one, a corporeal reality. In this material world, we observe causality. If I put two blocks together, it creates a larger block. The other one, though, the world constructed by your thoughts, we don't just observe causality. We just assume and accept that things happen and we feel certain ways because of them. Once we observe something in the real world, we run it by our thoughts. Whatever your mentality decides, you blindly accept. Yet the experiences defining your mentality, the experiences that create you, we've stopped considering. You've stopped questioning the influences that construct you, the influences that lead you to feel certain ways. You stopped playing God, started letting the experiences that define your autonomy go unchecked. Look, we default, we fall into a comfort zone, that's what humans do. But once again, when things go wrong, we believe we are malfunctioning. We don't accept the truth. That being, it's just a reaction. There is no malfunction. For our minds, we don't have a baseline of what's normal. We can't pinpoint causality. The most we can assume is one thought leads to another. Why do I feel depressed? Why do I feel empty? We believe we were just made like this. We might turn to drinking or other bad habits in an attempt to fill a void we believe we were born with. The greatest example I can give is trauma. When you respond emotionally to trauma, it's not a malfunction. Your brain is adapting, employing a survival mechanism to cope with the traumatic experience. So, our first step is to define what is putting two blocks together for the reality in our heads. The answer? Experiences. Reduce a person to simply a concoction of individual experiences. Thus, we have a baseline unit comparable to matter. When a person goes through something, they react a certain way. just as a dice does when you drop it. When you put two blocks together, they connect, but sometimes they don't just fit. This is exactly how an incorrectly metabolized experience occurs, something we call a traumatic experience. When an experience, a block, suddenly appears, it searches for something to attach to. Sometimes though, that experience is difficult. It's such a sudden introduction, such a sudden change from the regular, that it's akin to adding a piece with no sides to a puzzle. Without any past experiences, any other pieces with no sides, a roadblock is created. Maybe it's something you couldn't handle at the time, or hadn't ever been through before. If this happened in a world according to physics, what would you do? You'd just remove the block, right? Not use it. But we can't just remove experiences. We can't go back in time. Instead, your brain pulls its only move. It employs a mechanism it knows will keep traffic flowing. Move on and attempt to repress the experience. Thus, every time a similar experience, a similar size block appears, you now have past experiences to attach it to. But this is the detrimental part of repression. Think of it as an uprising, ever growing, until eventually it overflows. This piece with no sides found another piece with no sides. You'll react emotionally the same as you did to the original. This is where the cycle starts. A cycle of being shaped by emotional reactions. A cycle that builds an identity based off trauma. You tell yourself it is what it is, but ever since, it constantly shapes you. You might say to yourself, well, I don't have PTSD, but maybe you'll start to understand why PTSD is so influential, how its causes can be hidden so well. All I want is for you to start seeing it on a spectrum. Ask yourself, am I being shaped by an experience I've ignored or haven't even considered? Every block of trauma added empowers yet conceals its start point. You're essentially creating a bigger and bigger mental roadblock, until finally that roadblock becomes so big, it becomes part of your identity. You haven't been viewing your brain logically with a sense of causality. You just accept this is how things are. You know what that is? Depression in a nutshell. Your brain's only solution has been to try and hide the memories, because your only solution has been to deal with it emotionally. You might not have realized it, but you've been shaped by traumatic memories. What we want to do is to see our experiences as something real, to not let them fester in our minds, but to bring them out into reality, to convert our trauma into language. All of this is an attempt to find the memories your brain tries to hide for you, and either write them down or talk to someone about them. The literal idea behind therapy is to bring the issues that you and your subconscious define as is what it is into the limelight. To fight against the one thing your brain is extremely good at, hiding things for your benefit. It's pretty ironic that a defense mechanism needs to be broken to fight an issue. For once, you need to go on the offensive instead of the defensive. Emotional reactions are defensive mechanisms. Sometimes it takes years for people to even get the strength and courage to fight against themselves. It's scary because it's fighting against something your brain has become so good at doing. If you never ask, what is truly leading me to believe this, nothing will change. Every time you have a similar traumatic experience, you just keep adding on blocks, making the issue bigger. Every time you're reminded, you'll sink further and further. You'll never see a way forward. You've been shaped by misunderstanding a mechanism as malfunction. Take care.